every business model works. If you just stick with one, you'll be successful at it. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be aesthetic, it doesn't have to be the traditional route, but if you can just stick with one thing and run with it and put every ounce of effort in it, I've never seen anyone that has gone to the gym, eat right, be fat. I've never seen it. So if you can just stick with one thing and put every ounce of effort and do what you know needs to be done in terms of the work, you'll be successful.
You're a seven-time national champion gymnast. What did your discipline look like at that elite level, and how has that transferred into your business and entrepreneurial journey?
That's a great question, Bella. So it honestly started from I was never a normal kid. Starting
Yep.
from middle school, I was leaving before lunch, coming back after lunch. I was doing 2 to 3 trainings a day, 6 days a week. The discipline was ingrained in me. And I always knew I was different than other kids purely because I knew I had to be there because I knew the goal. And at most kids that age, 13, 14, 15, they don't really understand goals. They're on sports teams. They're just having fun. Obviously, they're competitive. They want to win, but they don't understand the space that I was put in and almost ingrained. It was an elite mindset that was ingrained in me. And I stopped gymnastics for my dream business because I can actually have lasting change in business. And I took that discipline from my sport, gymnastics, and translate it to business. And I have such an unfair advantage in my mind because of that discipline that was ingrained in me from such a young age.
Did you ever, in your experience as a kid, you're going through, massive transformation, mindset, body changes. You're dealing with so many different variables. At any point, did you ever have a point where you just felt so isolated?
I can't say I did. I have an amazing family, amazing parents,
Mhm.
amazing younger brother and sister. There were times that were tough, but I keep my faith in God and I know not to worry. So no, I can't say I have.
What was the core driving factor for you to achieve that goal? So young.
I feel like God has a mission for us all. And I feel like the sooner you realize that mission and the sooner you can devote your life to that, because the number one enemy of the devil is definiteness of purpose. And at a young age, I always talk about this, young entrepreneurs, they have something called shiny object syndrome. And it's so many things. They're trying so many different business models. And the sooner you can just pick with one, and that goes in life too, picking one thing, whether that be your career, your job, your spouse, just picking one, then you will see success because the number one enemy of the devil is definiteness of purpose. And I
Why?
realized that at a young age, and I'm very fortunate that I'm sticking with one thing and I'm putting 120% effort into achieving it.
What decided the transition from going to gymnast into the business and entrepreneurial world? You often say that business is the and entrepreneurship is the hardest game out there.
That's a very good question. Actually, a lot of people ask me, and I don't know if I've ever said this online publicly, and I don't think they understand it really. But with gymnastics, there's a cap, and your cap is your age. When you get to a certain age, your body starts deteriorating. You can't do the skills that you once could when you were young. But in business, there is no cap. It's how sharp can you keep your mind? And I know some 100-year-olds who are pretty smart. So I truly believe that where there's no cap, there's no limits, and that's where I want to be.
So you're the type of person who hates being put in a box.
Yeah, exactly.
How is that translated into the business world? At a young age, people often profile you, say you're too young to be in business, give business advice. How have you dealt with that controversy?
So you're gonna laugh at this.
Okay.
Some people that I interact with in terms of at networking events, potential clients, they mistake me before they actually meet me face to face. They think I'm 35 or 40. because of how I speak, and that comes from all the reading I've done, all the extensive studying I've done on actually developing my communication skills. Because as a young entrepreneur, if you don't have those, you could be the best at what you do at a young age. If you can't communicate your vision, if you can't communicate on what you're going to do for other people, for your clients, for your customers, you're never going to succeed. And that really goes at any age, especially when you're younger. The way you can communicate is probably the number one driver of your success, in my opinion.
This is just out of my own pure curiosity. But what has been the defining books that have translated into your mindset into work?
So that these are amazing questions because I'm a big reader. Back, I guess, in my prime of reading, I would read a book a week and sometimes even a book a day because that's how badly I wanted the information. But my top three books are Blue Ocean Strategy,
Mhm.
Think and Grow Rich, and Ready, Fire, Aim. And The Laws of Human Nature, if we're going to add four. But Ready, Fire, Aim is probably my favorite book. And I'll tell you why. It takes you from every stage of entrepreneurship, starting from stage one entrepreneur, zero to $1 million, stage two, stage three, stage four, all the way to $100 million. And it really walks you through every failure, every success, every operational benefit and failure that would happen inside a business at that level, especially for newer entrepreneurs. You can grow with the book and alongside it. And I think definitely got the most value out of it.
Out of curiosity, is when you're reading so many books and consuming so much knowledge, the pace to implementation has to be extremely fast because you only learn so much unless you do things with the knowledge that you
Mm.
have. So, how has that reflected your business growth?
That's a great question. I always say this internally in my business. We have something called a little reading group. So every month I'll assign the team a book and we'll read it and talk about it. And if you didn't implement at least one to two things that you learned, knowledge that you learned from the book, you didn't really learn anything. Because the point of knowledge is action. And if you're
Completely.
not acting upon the knowledge, then what's the point of it?
It's just idle, it sits there and it's that knowledge.
Exactly.
What made you believe you could build a six-figure agency in high school? I mean, most people can't even finish their homework.
I believe I can do anything. I think that if I truly wanted to go play soccer and go play for Team USA in the Olympics for soccer, any sport, I could do it. I think the mind is the most powerful thing. And the second you can control your thoughts, because there's so many things that are going on right now, especially in young entrepreneurs. And I'm purely talking about that. I think anyone at any age can achieve anything, but I'm purely talking about because you just said in high school, there's so many distractions, phones, TikTok, social media, wanting to fit in with friends, drugs, parties, right? Imagine if this goes back to what we talked about at the beginning, if you just had a definiteness of purpose, especially at a young age, you have speed, youth, you should be flying by everyone, really. And I just realized that at a young age. And again, I'm very, very grateful I did. And my mission is to help other young entrepreneurs figure that out at a young age. And anything is possible at any age again. But the speed and energy and youth you bring at a young age, it's an unfair advantage. Because Bella, people want to help you at a young age. They see themselves in you when they were younger and they want to help you.
So, what's interesting is I have a very similar perspective. Originally, when I got into college, so I was an athlete, did the whole states running, got into it. I had an injury for about 4 years and I fell into a trap, stopped working out, started partying, started drinking, got into drugs. And I quickly realized that this is not the path that's going to get you anywhere. And I had a moment within that where I realized I would much rather sacrifice now in order to create a better future for
Mm,
myself. I think that's where so many people struggle with is that many audience members feel as though, well, it's now. I'm in my 20s. I'm in my teens. I should live life. And what advice would you give to that?
You can either have a social life in your late teens and 20s or be successful.
Agreed. Agreed. What do you think people say to you when you're too young to be giving business advice, especially back to people in their 40s?
I've actually never gotten any criticism, only more questions actually, wondering how I know what I know. And I think the times are changing, Bella, actually, because I think they can understand because if you look at the wealth curve right now, in
Mhm.
America, especially, the younger generation is continuously getting richer, and my generation is by 2080, I think stats say we're going to be the richest generation, and I think that's because of the information available to us. That obviously there's still the 1% that will act on it, but it's still out there, and it wasn't out there with the generation of people that were 30, 40, 50 right now.
What I want to get really deep into is that with the abundance of information comes confusion, chaos, and distraction.
Exactly.
What have you done to separate yourself from the average in order to excel in business?
That's a great question. And it's the most important question because how do you set yourself apart? You do what other people won't. And I find comfort in pushing myself past what other people aren't willing to do because I know they're not willing to do it, therefore I'm ahead.
So, what has been the key habits that you've implemented that have changed your life?
So I think every human just as a whole should just start with going to the gym because everyone's schedule is different. I don't I don't believe that everyone has to wake up 6 a.m., read, journal, ice bath, everything, all that whole morning routine. I just believe that if you have structure and you have discipline and you can write a list down on your top tasks that you have to do for the day and do them, actually do them to the best of your ability every single day for 5 years, whatever those tasks be, it could be for your business, your job, school, anything, you'll achieve them. And incorporating the gym in that schedule is so beneficial because it has so many effects on your mind and self-esteem and confidence that the gym has always been on my checklist and of discipline, and it all stems from that. Just completing the daily tasks over and over, and what that does is it strengthens your resolve, and that's the most important thing. That's why people do the ice bath. That's why I like the ice bath, not because it's freezing or hurts or looks cool, but it strengthens something called resolve. And whenever there's that voice that's saying, "I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that," I
That's been
think back to the ice bath that every second my brain says I don't want to do that. This is way easier than being in there. So it's just all about doing what you say you're going to do despite the voice in your head.
I want to tell you a quick story. I originally was never the type of person who would want to go take a cold shower, want to go take an ice bath, hated every single second of it. And there was a point where I decided, you know what, if I don't wake up on time, I'm going to go force myself to go take this ice bath, go take this cold shower. And at first, you go through this period where you hate every single second of it. You have moments where you're thinking, I really don't think I should do it, right? Like, this doesn't matter. But the
Hmm.
second you go through it and you walk out and you have that moment of, holy crap, I just did this, you feel so much better. It's
Yes,
that the process of doing the thing sucks, but once you're done, you're proud of yourself. And I think that's
exactly.
what people struggle with.
And that's real dopamine too.
Mhm. What has been one of your hardest moments that you've had that thought in your head, I don't really know if I should do it, but you pushed past that barrier?
I think that it might be not what you're expecting, but cutting off friends that aren't benefiting you. And it's
Mhm.
extremely hard for me being 18 or 17 or really 16 when I got into this game to have friends that I've known for so long, but I know that they're not benefiting me. And the deciding factor that was like, okay, obviously I would never be mean to anyone. I would never be rude. I would be like, look, I can't hang out with you anymore. And the reason I chose to actually do that despite that voice in my head saying, I think you should just stay with them, hang out. It's okay. It's only a few hours a week and that adds up. Is my goals are always going to be put first. I think being selfish in entrepreneurship is very, very beneficial for you and your goals because what does that translate to? Your family's success, right? Your goals don't translate necessarily to yourself because I know you have goals to take your family on vacations, retire your parents, you know what I mean? So actually just putting yourself first because that'll put everyone else in your circle first, right? And those friends that aren't benefiting you are taking you away from that. So in turn, you're being selfish to everyone else, not actually cutting them off.
I completely agree with you. I've had a very similar situation happen with family and friends and where you have to cut off those people. And it's challenging at first, but once you do, you have so much more freedom to maneuver in your life and create the life that you
Yeah.
want.
Hmm.
Have you gone through phases with friends and cycling?
Yeah, definitely. I'm at a phase right now where I'm slowly starting to become friends with the friends that I want to be friends with in terms of the very successful people that I actually enjoy and I speak their language. Because as you grow, those old friends, you don't really speak their language. You love them. Don't get me wrong, you're never rude or never mean to anyone. Kindness is always number one, but you don't speak their language. They don't understand the grind you're putting in, and you like to be around people that are reciprocating the grind. Know what it's like, people you can resonate with. That's how you get the most friendships, especially in business. And I'm at that stage right now where I'm just starting to become friends with the people that I want to be friends with. So hopefully I can keep on that trend.
For anyone in the audience, Jaden, who are the type of people that you look for and what qualities and characteristics do you define and look at for friends, relationships, networking, business partnerships?
I'm going to start with friendships purely. At your age, wherever you are, looking for someone who has an instinct, an entrepreneurial instinct, and I like to call it a killer instinct. And it might not be as aggressive as it sounds, but what that means are people that are willing to put themselves first for their goals and not put the hangout first. And that's just stage one, like putting their goals first. I don't even care about if you're successful or rich, just friends around you to build with that really understand the goals and aren't just scrolling on TikTok and get motivation from these videos saying they want to be successful and they're locked in for a few weeks, few months, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, how's that business?" And they're like, "Oh, like it just didn't work out," and they're back at square one. So finding people with that killer instinct that know that good things take time. And for mentors, this is a good story, Bella. So this is actually, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here. This is how I started my agency. So at 15 and 16, my freshman and sophomore year in high school, I worked at a golf club called Lakeside Golf Club.
Okay.
And I was super fortunate, super lucky to get in. I was the only kid there under 25. At least the youngest person was 25 before me, and everyone there is a multimillionaire. Like every single person there. And what did I do? This 15-year-old that gets in there, I'm so excited. Um, I think I took everyone's number down, and the amount of things I've learned from all these guys, and now I have amazing relationships, and I can actually utilize that for my business, and some of them are actually my clients. But how I actually started my agency at this golf club was since I was the only kid. I'm on the
Mhm.
range one day, and golfers, they know what that is. And a guy named Rick Dees comes up to me, and he's like, "Hey, you look young. Do you think you could run my social media and maybe put some of those Instagram and Facebook ads now called Meta?" And I had no idea what that was. I knew what social media marketing was, but I had no idea how to do any of that. I was purely just trading stocks at that time. And I was like, yeah, of course. I've been doing that for a few months. I definitely can help you. And he's like, oh, amazing. Let me take your number and I'll give you a call tomorrow and we'll set up a meeting. We'll sign a contract and we'll go. I need this ASAP. And I'm like, oh, awesome, awesome. And I leave work that day ecstatic. I just got my first client, no idea what to do, no idea how to serve him. But I always say that entrepreneurship is jumping off a cliff and building a plane on the way down. And I ended up staying up till 6 a.m. literally, and I had school the next day too. I slept through all my classes, probably learning everything there is. Watched an entire course on ads, watched an entire course on social media management. And that was 2 years ago, almost today. And within the first week, we launched his song Disco Duck, and we started running campaigns for it. He got 100,000 streams in a week. So it was a massive success. And I always say this, Bella, that one client truly equals three. And
Good.
people in service-based businesses, you just need to grind to get that first client. And that first client is in your phone through warm outreach, through your surroundings, through people introducing you, because you don't have to provide value because they're being introduced. Obviously, you have to provide value that you're good at the skill, but it's easier to get in contact with them because they're warm. Warm outreach is always better to get your first 5, 10K a month. And I always preach that. But that really is a lesson to everyone, that put yourself in surroundings that where there are successful people, and there's nothing bad that can come out of it if you truly utilize that surroundings. Because I know people at my job that didn't utilize the surroundings. It was just a job. For me, it was the biggest networking event, the biggest opportunity that I could have asked for. So yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell how I started the agency.
So you have a philosophy that I found really, really interesting through what you were talking about is you have to get yourself in bigger rooms. If you're the smallest person in the room, you're never in the right room.
Mm,
And how are you doing that now? You're at a point where your success is you're doing very well for yourself, but
I'm doing all right. There's kids always doing better.
everyone wants to push to that next level. So what are you going to do to push to that next level?
So back to your question about in always be in rooms where you're the smallest. I think that goes back to what I was talking to you about, that I'm always trying to be friends with people better than me. That's why I'm saying I'm at the stage where I'm becoming friends with the people way ahead of me, and I'm continuously growing. But I think, and I'll get there soon, very soon. I think continuously just working on your craft. If you're very good at a skill, and your skill benefits your clientele, your customer, no one's going to deny your success or how good you are, because results speak for themselves. And you don't get confidence in big rooms like that to go up and approach people by being bad at what you do. You get confidence by the wins you have in private. That's where confidence comes from. And what you know you can do. That's just knowing your worth, knowing how good you are. And these guys will respect you and continuously introduce you to bigger and bigger fish. So in turn, you'll get into bigger and bigger rooms.
What I'm curious about, and something I know a lot of our audience members probably struggle with, is the idea that confidence, fake it till you make it idea.
Mhm.
What are some of the key things you've done at the beginning stages when you're a young entrepreneur and you don't have that confidence yet? You don't have that portfolio. How do you show up?
I like that phrase to an extent, fake it till you make it. I think the brain is a very, very powerful thing. And truly believing you are the person you want to be, and really saying, I already am a billionaire. I already am a multimillionaire. Time just has to catch up. So when I'm moving, when I'm walking, I'm already accustoming my brain to being that person. So I already think I'm that person. Time just has to catch up. I already know I'm that person. Time just has to catch up. And a lot of people think it's cocky, arrogant, but I think it tricks your brain in a very good way. And I think as long as you're kind to people and just know that if you can trick your brain to move like a millionaire, to move like a billionaire, whatever your goals might be, it's actually a very powerful manifestation hack to move like the person you already want to be like, and to put yourself in these situations. Go to nice restaurants, go to nice dealerships, and just be in that area. Be be around wealth. And I think that's what really propelled me to where I'm at, is because at the course, the parking lot's like a car show. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Lambo, like everyone's dream car ever, and I just see it every day. And these
And
guys are just offering me to drive their car, go park it. Like my brain was accustomed to that. So I already knew I was that millionaire before I even was. Even though I'm not saying I am. I'm not. But I'm saying I know I am. Time is just
right,
catching up. Yeah.
right. Do you believe within manifestation, and I have this very similar philosophy, that how you act in alignment to your future self gets you there? So if you're thinking from the place of current reality right now, you're not ever going to get to where you want to go. But if you think in the ways that that millionaire, billionaire you would, you're just, it's going to happen naturally in the course that should happen.
Very, very similar. And it goes back to choosing the right friends, because the second you start acting like your millionaire, billionaire self, would your millionaire, billionaire self hang out with kids who are drinking, smoking, partying every weekend? And some kids will think you're arrogant and selfish for that. But think about what gets other billionaires to that level. They're not hanging out with kids like you, right? They're hanging out with
Mhm.
winners, and anyone can be a winner, no matter what stage, no matter what their circumstances. But winners hang out with winners, right? And I have this saying that is actually something I live by, and that is winners focus on winning and losers focus on winners. What does that mean? That means that losers, and this is not rude, this is just how I'm classifying winning and losing in life and relationship and job. Losers, they focus on winners because they're too insecure, and they don't want to chase their dreams, and they're almost living through the winners. And the winners, they don't care about validation, they don't care about who likes them. All they care about is winning.
And
And I think that's so important at a young age, and especially in entrepreneurship.
I think there's a point, at least that I've gotten to, that once you forget about all the other things in life,
Mm.
validation, needs, likes, wants, all of this crap, and focus singly on the goal that you're trying to achieve, all of it you realize was a distraction at the end of the day.
Everything goes back to definiteness of purpose.
Mhm. Why do you think, my better question is that at a young age you had the purpose of becoming a gymnast, but then with the ad agency it was almost as though it was handed to you, but you had to put in every single ounce of work to make that happen. Do you think there's a point within your business that most people see those opportunities and don't run with it for a reason? Or is it that you had the boldness and the drive and discipline that just created that opportunity as a result of it?
A little bit of both. I think people pray for opportunities, and
Mhm.
when one presents itself, they're nitpicky. God doesn't send you opportunities to be nitpicky. He sends you what you pray for, He sends you what you manifested. And when one presents itself, no matter what stage you're in, I'm telling you, for everyone watching this and listening to this, every business model works. You just stick with one, you'll be successful at it. It doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be aesthetic, it doesn't have to be the traditional route, but if you can just stick with one thing and run with it and put every ounce of effort in it, I've never seen anyone that has gone to the gym, eat right, be fat. I've never seen it. So if you can just stick with one thing and put every ounce of effort and do what you know needs to be done in terms of the work, you'll be successful.
Jaden, one thing I'm curious about is that you've talking about being selfish in business. And so many people I know have had the thought of it's selfish to go after what I want. What has changed your mindset about that? Because when I originally was in that mindset a long time ago, I had to decondition myself to realize
Mm.
that way less selfish to put yourself first. In fact, you're hurting other people by not doing that.
Exactly. So I think, Bella, it goes back to your priorities. What is most important in your life? The most important in my life is God and family. So if I'm not living out God's mission for myself, which in turn will, my number one goals are to retire my parents. I am not being selfish, putting my goals first because I know it's going to provide for my family, my future kids, giving them the option, my future wife, the option to work or not, my future kids, the option to live an amazing life, right? That, and it all goes back to your priorities, I think, Bella. How bad do you want something? How much do you want to change your environment and circumstances?
How much are you willing to sacrifice in order to achieve
Exactly.
that goal?
Hmm.
When you make a decision, what is your decision making filter?
So I have an amazing team around me, and I like to play out a few different variations when it comes to trying a few different things. And when I make a final decision, I like to wait at least 90 days after I implement something in my business to see if it actually works. Right? You're not going to see the first glimpses of change after you've implemented a new decision until after 21 days, or around after 21 days. And you're not going to see actual real lasting change when habits are created until after 90 days. So I think when I make a decision, the framework that it goes into, that my brain goes into, is wait the full 90 days. If everyone's in agreement, if this is what we know we needed, we've talked to our consultants, we've talked to everyone around us who has been in this situation, and we implement this decision and it's not working right away, wait 90 days before we ever make a change.
I love that. It's the same framework for implementing a habit and how that habit works.
Exactly.
Going into the business side of things is you often start content with, is this controversial? Is that intentional click psychology? Or is it genuinely how you think?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm in an ice bath. I'm trying to think what that video was. Oh, you're in an ice bath. You're asking, is it controversial? It's a little bit of both, honestly, because I think that video is talking about cutting off friends that aren't benefiting you. I'm pretty sure, and I think it goes a little bit into wanting people to watch the full video because I think I provide value. So adding a little flair on the hook to reach more people is helpful.
What has been some of the key principles that you implement in content to make it attractive and make it sticky?
So actually, I just started content again because now I've hired a full-time editor because before I couldn't actually produce content because I was so busy. I didn't have that many team members in my agency, so I was really hands-on, and I still am very, very hands-on. But I now have an editor for my personal page, and I just have this. I got this ice bath, and it's a great kind of background hook area. People are like, "What the heck is he doing in there?" Um, but the number one kind of philosophy I think when producing content or as a business producing content is just giving free value, educating your viewer, telling them an experience in your life that could help them, and overall just taking yourself out of the equation and making content for your viewer.
Do you think an ice bath or a cold DM is more challenging?
I think getting cold DMs are more challenging.
Really?
And just responding to them. You want to get to a lot because you never know. There could be some value in the cold DMs, but I think the ice bath is probably harder. It's less cold. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. What is one marketing tactic that's underrated but stupidly effective?
So running a $5 a day follower ad for a year is probably the most effective. I have a client that has gone from 10,000 followers to 67,000 followers in a matter of 8 months, running a $5 a day follower ad, because $5 in Meta gets you around 500 to 1,000 views. Usually it's like 800 to 1,000, but I'm just basing on if your creative is good, which is the video. That's probably the most underrated hack is running a $5 a day follower ad because it's so cheap and people are like, oh, I don't know if it's going to work. Rather than boosting a post, set up a Meta account, run $5 a day on repeat. Don't get your morning Starbucks, um, and see your followers grow. Obviously, put effort into the video and the value you're providing on why people should follow you. But that's probably the number one thing that not many people talk about.
That is an insane hack. And going back to the creatives, and the creative is the biggest variable. It's the biggest variable that you're dealing with. What have you done to experiment around with the different pieces of variables within content to find something that hits? Have you found a formula, a pattern?
That's a good question. I don't think that I really use a formula or pattern. I guess the only formula I'm using right now for my clients are so they take themselves out of the equation. I like to script, or I do script every piece of content for my clients in terms of organic slash paid ads aspect of their content. I only really script because you have the knowledge and the whole basis of content and to attract people through content is to educate. And I always like to say that Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok are actually digital business cards. So when you're running ads for these businesses, people are funneling in from the ad to your profile before they buy. And that's just purely from data on how people operate because they want to find trust in an online economy. And when people are funneling in from an ad and they see everyday posts of providing value about your industry, providing value about what you do, providing value on how you do it, client wins, client results. They're like, okay, I trust you. I see you're
Mm.
putting in the work every day to post. In terms of the person who runs their first ever meta ad and they have 3 posts up of their dog, a picture of their wife and them on vacation, they're not going to trust as much as someone who's consistently putting out content and has that organic content engine in play. That's why I always like to start running ads after the second month of working with a client,
Mm.
especially if they have no posts, just to at least have that organic content engine put into place.
What has been the biggest growth factor that you found in the content engine you're creating?
I think the biggest growth hack in the whole industry is consistency. And I wouldn't even say it's a hack. I think it's just consistency. Every single day posting. I think that's more beneficial than every other day. Every single day posting incorporated with cheap ads. Five, $10 paid ads with consistent content to funnel people in to your page and your product are probably the biggest hack because people don't even understand how cheap it is to drive thousands of guaranteed eyeballs to your page. When you put money behind a post, you're guaranteeing views. It's not like, oh, it has a better chance. You're guaranteeing views. And you're also guaranteeing views in front of your target avatar with the behaviors of your ideal
That's
client,
insane.
right? So
That's
that
insane.
I wouldn't even say it's a hack. I would just say most people just don't know about it.
Okay, so we take the variable of implementing a coffee cup into an ad, which is something every single person here in this audience should do if you're invested in your money, your time, and your growth and building your brand and your product. Now, we're going into the psychological side. We're dealing with the problem of consistency, which is more mindset related. What have you done in order to maintain consistency in content, life, business? It's all very similarly related.
So this is a beautiful question, especially for the audience and people struggling with consistency. It all goes back to the core driving factor of success, which is discipline. I have a philosophy that I live by that I don't believe in motivation. Motivation is a feeling, and no successful person acts on feelings. I only exercise discipline because it's an action. And when you learn to strengthen your resolve and discipline, consistency becomes second nature.
In the beginning, especially for people in the audience, is in the beginning when you're building that discipline muscle, it's one of the
Mhm.
hardest muscles to build.
Oh
And
my,
have you
yeah, it is.
it is a horrible, hard time. And what did you do to get over that curve? Did you ask yourself questions? Did you surround yourself with people what did you do to get that muscle trained, especially to get to where you are today?
So I'll tell you what I did, and I'll tell you how I did it. I started off by constantly being uncomfortable. I
Mm,
wasn't a kid who loved to read. I wasn't a
okay.
kid who loved cardio. I wasn't a kid who loved to run. So
It
I
works.
started with, I also wasn't a kid who liked the cold. Now you see me doing videos in an ice bath multiple minutes in my face, turning a different color to get the clip. And it all starts with being uncomfortable and doing things you don't want to do with a smile. And the second you can trick your brain to doing things that are hard and doing them with a smile, I think that's a step in the right direction. So I started with reading. I started with 1 page a day. I wasn't a kid who liked reading. 1 page felt like a lot. And I got myself up to doing 2 hours straight of like 50 to 60 pages a day. And then I got myself up to doing 3 mile runs around my neighborhood from a around the block run from when I just started. And it all goes back to just simply being uncomfortable and embracing the struggle. If you can't smile at pain, if you can't smile at the struggle, I wouldn't even try entrepreneurship. I wouldn't even go for it. And it just goes back into the killer instinct. And not everyone even has to have an instinct or a willingness to be an entrepreneur. If you can simply just do something hard and actually stick with it and have a smile when it's hard, not give up, you're going to be successful at whatever you do. Like entrepreneurship aside, you'll be the best at your job. You'll be the best husband, wife. You just need to stick with it and embrace it.
What is one principle, lesson, key takeaway you would give someone who's starting at level zero right now to get them to where, let's say 6 figures and 6 figures a year? What would you say? I want you to hear this. I want you to hear this message.
This is a beautiful question because it's actually a question I get from a lot of people. And the one advice I would give to people starting from zero is start a service-based business. It doesn't have to be social media marketing. It could be window cleaning. It could be any of these businesses. And a key thing that will drive you to your first $1,000, $5,000, even $10,000 are not wasting so much time when you're just starting. I'm not saying down the line, but when you're just starting, doing cold outreach, doing a million cold calls, doing a million cold emails. I would actually start in your phone. I truly believe that your first couple $1,000s are in your contacts. And talking to your parents, friends. Mom knows a business owner. Dad knows someone who needs their windows cleaned. That person knows needs their windows cleaned. I always say that, and we talked about this a little bit. We touched on it, but one client actually equals three. So you get that one initial client, and they love what you do, and they refer you, and then that client refers you, and it's almost like a chain reaction, like a butterfly effect. And it's a beautiful thing that people overcomplicate. And I think warm outreach is so underrated in business that I really truly believe that your first 10,000 is in your contacts. And it could start with your mom introducing you to her business owner friend, or your dad introducing you to his business owner friend, and then that friend introducing you. And it becomes a chain reaction. And it's something I've been able to utilize at a very high level. And of course, when you scale and grow, use cold outreach, put systems in place, start running ads for your business. But a lot of people just waste so much time on it. And to be honest, the way to reach your first 10K month, almost guaranteed, and I say almost because you have to be good at what you do and you have to put in the work to be good at what you do, is you land that one client. And I firmly believe it's in your contacts, reaching out to warm outreach. You land that one client and you serve them. You don't focus on scaling after that. You have that one client, and I'm Bella talking purely service based right now, but you land that one client and you serve them the best that you could. You put everything into that client. You give them the best results. What are they going to do? They're going to refer you. Their friends are going to get FOMO because you're doing so good. And a lot of people just focus when they're just starting on scaling way too quick without the proper infrastructure. You need to know your craft. You need to know you're good. You need to know you have the capacity to serve other clients. And it all just starts with patience and It's like reading. I started with one page a day, and just like you'll start with one client, and the better you get, the more in tune your brain gets with your workflows, your team, and actually the deliverables of the client, getting to know them, the sooner you'll get better.
This is my last question for you.
Okay.
I don't know if you are like this, but I am, and I think about death every single day.
Okay.
So I want to know is what do you want your legacy to be?
That's an amazing question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. I want my legacy to be someone who always put God first, their family first, and left an imprint on the world to really staple, especially the United States, because I have a goal one day of being the president. My legacy, I want it to be to prove that anyone at any age can achieve success. Doesn't have to be entrepreneurship. Just anyone at any age can be successful at whatever they do. And I really thoroughly believe that I can convince the entire world that at any age, success is possible, success is plausible, and to start with mindset. So I really want to transform people's way of thinking, and I want to eliminate that mindset that has limiting beliefs, because I genuinely believe that anyone can accomplish anything if they believe they can. Because I know that if my mind can fathom it, I can do it.
Thank you, Jaden. I really appreciate your time, and I cannot wait to see the young entrepreneurs who take this away and start their business, transform their business, and change their life.
Thank you so much, Bella.